Welcome friends to another r/entitled parents video. As always, if you enjoy this video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And our first story of the day is by Fluffy Bunnies 51, entitled Mother Harasses Autistic Toddler at the Zoo. Background info: I'm a first-time mother to an autistic 2-year-old. I also have a laundry list of my own disabilities and illnesses. So when we go out, it's always important to me that we have absolutely everything we need in one trip. And that my son's happy with whatever mode of transport he's using, as I can only carry him for about 2 minutes at this point. He's already nearly 4 feet tall, so it's hard. Since he's so big, I got a special seat that straps to my waist and takes the weight off. We wanted to take my son to the zoo for the first time since we're both vaccinated, though we still did masks and distancing. My son loves to organize and is actually advanced in his organization skills. i.e., he can do consistent and repetitive color patterns and can form completely level lines with toys of different shapes, can match like objects. He's so hyper-fixated on organization so much that he basically needs something to organize, and/or stack, and books to keep himself calm. So to help him with that, and with his need to be able to easily read his many books, we decided to get rid of the stroller altogether and got him this amazing wagon with a UV protective canopy, and a tailgate to carry all his books, sensory toys, and organization items. So we get to the zoo at our scheduled entry time, and everything seems great. We get the kiddo some fries and walk him around a kiddie area with prairie dogs, some information toys things, and the swamp area. He loved the ducks and prairie dogs. And everything seems to be going well. He's handling the people and noise amazing, and is even looking at most of the animals. We got about halfway through the zoo when we got to a big indoor primates habitat. Since it was indoors and my son was getting a bit antsy, we decided to get him to walk around and see everything, and just followed behind. Because of safety protocols, it was fairly empty in that habitat, so he wasn't bugging anyone. He doesn't talk yet, but he does make sounds based off of his moods. When he's happy and excited, he yells and jumps up and down while waving his arms. Important. So we're walking in a straight line down a hall so people can get by if they'd like. Son in front, his dada in the middle, and me in the back pulling the wagon. This is where we meet entitled mother and entitled kid. I suddenly feel the wagon get snagged on something, so I give it a little tug while looking back. It moves and I don't see anyone, so I figured it just caught on a lip I didn't see and moved on. But it happened again a few seconds later, this time with entitled mother asking why I would knock her baby down. She was mad. The conversation went like this. The entitled mother said, "Why would you do that? He's just a little kid. What kind of adult knocks down a kid and keeps snacks away from them?" I look over and see entitled kid, about 8 or so, trying to get into the cooler we had on the tailgate. I say, cause it's not his? You need to stop. The entitled mother says, "Don't you dare talk to my baby like that. He's hungry and can have a snack." I simply say no again and then move on and catch up to Dada and my son. I thought that was the end of it, but this habitat isn't too big, so of course we ran into them again. We got to an area with some small monkeys that looked like they all had a bad hair day. Can't remember the name, but they were so cute. They had a sign that said, "Shh, mother's bonding with their babies." We decided to stop there for a break because it was marked quiet area for people with sensory issues, and their babies liked my baby. So my son was entertained in doing his happy routine. Then entitled mother and entitled kid came through a door while I wasn't looking. She was trying to load her rather large 8-year-old into a wagon made for much smaller kids. So I heard the frame groaning when he hopped in and she tried to pull it. It only has a weight limit of like 150 or so, and the cooler along with my son's stuff was at least 75. We yelled at her and I chased her out the door. Dada was slower because he had my son and was recovering from a broken foot. I catch them and shout, "What are you doing? You can't just steal our stuff." But entitled mother and entitled kid ignored me and kept going. I'm panicking and thinking, what if she actually gets away with our stuff? We're all literally disabled and I can't run more. So like any mom, I grabbed my son's diaper bag that had the essentials and began yelling for help, just as entitled mother began yelling for help too. Zoo employee shows up, talking into a radio and asking for assistance. The employee tries to separate us, but entitled mother wouldn't stop yelling that I pushed her son and stole his bag. By now, security's here too. We're finally separated. I can hear entitled mother complaining, but not really what she's saying. She's with security and I'm with the employee. The employee asks what happened, and I explained what they did in the hall of the primate habitat and how she took our wagon, so I panicked and tried to get my son's diaper stuff and sensory toys. I hear entitled mother shouting a bit, and then security comes over. Security says, "Did you push entitled kid, then tell your son to hit him?" I say absolutely not. He tried to steal from us, and I didn't notice that I accidentally knocked him down, and my son never even looked at him. The entitled mother says, "Liar, your little R word slapped him and jumped on him." I said, "My son's autistic. He was just happy to see the baby monkeys. He never touched your son. Never call him that." By now, I could hear my son screaming from the habitat. Dad had told me later that he couldn't get son to leave until he saw I was gone and freaked out. So now I was dealing with a complete overload and entitled mother meltdown. As we calmed him down, security said that there is a camera right where we had been waiting, so he was going to go check the camera. Entitled mother said, "Seriously? These R words have taken too much time and stressed my son and I out. We just want to leave already. Can't you just let us go?" Security says, "No, ma'am. We need to confirm whose belongings these are." This whole time, entitled kid's going through my son's things and eating our snacks. Thankfully, security and zoo employee make her get him out so they can keep it all to the side. Surprise, surprise, it was obviously ours and she was making it all up. Not much justice though. They got kicked out and we got to take son to see his monkey friends again. But they did feel really bad that he ended up having such a bad meltdown. So they did offer him some ice cream to make up for it, but he doesn't eat cold things. So I'm happy to say that son is the proud new owner of a definitely not age appropriate, but he's good with real books, Official Zoologist Guide book to the zoo. He picked it out himself. He loves seeing his favorite animals in it. First of all, that is a big toddler. OP said they're 24 months old and they're 3 feet 10 inches. Secondly, if you were a bystander here and you saw this go down, would you be giving that entitled mother a piece of your own mind? Let me know in the comments down below. This next story is by Warrior White. Why do women with kids feel so entitled just because they have kids? I, female 30 years old, have an autoimmune arthritis condition. I walk with a cane. On my bad days, I can barely walk at all. I have a handicap placard for those days. I had to go grocery shopping a while ago, and I was in no condition to be walking a long ways. Not a code red pain day, but definitely up there. If I hadn't been completely out of a few major necessities, I wouldn't have been out there at all. When I got there, all the handicap spots were full, but I saw an older gentleman loading his trunk and knew that spot would soon be available, so I pulled up and put my blinkers on and waited. Soon as he was gone, I pulled into the spot, threw up my blue placard, and began hauling myself out of the car. I'm just about ready to close the door when I hear, "Excuse me." I look over and see a teal SUV pulled up behind me. There's this woman in the driver's seat yelling out the open passenger window at me. The entitled mother yelled, "You just took my spot." I said, "What? I was waiting behind the other guy. I didn't see you." She says, "No, these are handicap spots. They're only for handicapped people." I'm literally leaning against my car, cane in hand. I hold up the cane. "I am handicapped, ma'am. I have a permit." Entitled mother scoffs and pulled away. I decided just forget about her and begin my hobble walk into the store. I got even more frustrated when I saw there were no electric carts available, so I was forced to grab one of the smaller trolleys and walk. Since I have a hard time pushing a cart one-handed and the cart offers some support, I put my cane inside the cart. I was only as far as the produce section when I hear a familiar voice. "Hey you!" It was the entitled mother. She's pushing one of those big carts that look like cars for the kids. She had an infant and a toddler strapped into the front of the cart. Another kid, 2 years old, standing, bouncing in the cart. And yet another child holding her hand walking beside her. He looked 5-ish. I'm bad at telling ages. She's also very pregnant. She stalks up to me with this pissed off expression. You need to learn to be more respectful. I was waiting for that parking spot and you stole it." She's talking and yelling over her kids who are all fussing loudly. I say, "Lady, I didn't see you waiting for that spot. If you were, I apologize." She says, "I was waiting for it. I needed a spot close to the entrance. Because of you, I had to park all the way towards the back." I say, "Well, I said I was sorry." I look over her and her brood real quick. "Besides, that was a handicap spot. You can only park there with a permit. Are one of your kids handicapped?" She says, "No, the spot was for me. I'm pregnant." I say, lady, you can't use disabled parking just because you're pregnant. Not unless you have some complications that affect your mobility. She says, no, you can use them if you're pregnant too. I always use them. I say, I don't think that's how it's supposed to work, ma'am. You're lucky you haven't gotten a ticket for not having a permit displayed. Entitled mother huffs. Well, you shouldn't be using it. You're not pregnant and you clearly don't have kids. I say, no, I'm not pregnant, but I am disabled. This whole conversation, I've been leaning on my cart for support. I pull my cane out for her to see. I say, I can barely walk 10 feet without pain. That's why I have a handicap permit. She says, that's no excuse. You can't be in that much pain. I've been up all night with a colicky baby and couldn't keep anything down because of morning sickness. I'm exhausted. My feet are killing me. You don't know what it's like wrangling 4 kids while pregnant. I clearly needed that spot more than you did. I'm more than done with this whole argument at this point. I say, look lady, I'm in pain, I'm tired, and I want to just finish my shopping so I can go home and try to work up the will to make dinner tonight. I didn't see you waiting for the darn parking spot, and you shouldn't be using it without a permit anyway. Good day. I tried walking away. The entitled mother yelled, you selfish brat, you don't know what tired is. I'm going to report you to store security. I'll get them to tow your car. I say, lady, call security if you want. I'm allowed to park there. I didn't choose to become disabled, but you chose to have kids. It's not my fault you're tired and run down and can't be bothered to walk the extra 200 feet to the door. It's not my fault you chose to let some guy knock you up. You deal with your life, I'll deal with mine. I hobbled off to try to finish my shopping, ignoring her parting comments. That fight gave me just enough adrenaline to get through my trip without falling apart. I had an assistant help load my vehicle, which was undisturbed where I had parked it. I was still upset when I got home, but it was nothing a long soak in the tub couldn't fix. I still hope she gets ticketed for parking in the handicap spots, but as long as I never see her again, I'll be happy. I'm definitely not going to discredit anybody who's pregnant and the difficulties of day-to-day life while being pregnant and also managing kids, but OP does have a lot of good points. They are handicapped, they didn't choose to have that life. Really, the whole argument should have stopped right there. OP's handicapped, they have the placard, and without proper registration, the entitled mother shouldn't be trying to park there anyways. And our final story of the day is by the Prairian. We're having a baby. Weren't you on birth control? My wife and I have been together for a decade. Over that time, we've had 3 failed pregnancies and finally stopped trying and adopted our beautiful daughter. Well, 3 weeks ago, we find out that we are pregnant again. Surprise! We're about 8 to 9 weeks, but are still further along than any other pregnancy. About a week after we found out, we told my mother-in-law. We expected her to be excited, but her first words were, well, I hope you can handle it. Not the reaction we were looking for, but okay. Every time she comes over, it's something else. Why didn't I get a special shirt to tell me? My wife bought a shirt that says S is for sister for our daughter to wear to tell people to see if they're paying attention. Because it wasn't in, and we thought you would want to be the first to know. She even got to go to the first ultrasound and hear the heartbeat, which I couldn't go to because of work. So, are you excited now? Ask me in a few weeks. Well, tonight, the truth comes out. She's known for 2 weeks now and makes the smart butt comment to my wife, weren't you on birth control? You know, we aren't going to get to go on as many trips. Wait, say that again. You know we aren't going to get to go on as many trips. So backstory, my mother-in-law is a lonely woman that hasn't been on a date, more or less been in a relationship this millennium. My wife, our daughter, and I like to travel. Almost every trip she tries to invite herself, and out of sheer guilt, we let her come with us most of the time, even though it always ends with her complaining and her and my wife fighting. Also, I've never taken my mom on vacation, and only taken a few trips with my dad and stepmom, which they paid most of, but I digress. So because we, my wife and I, are having another child, you're mad because you won't get to go on as many trips? They say, well, all I could say was get the F out of my house. Well, nothing, just go. I guess I should have also posted this on Am I the Jerk, but my wife and I work hard for everything we have. We aren't rich, really aren't even comfortable, but we maximize life all we can. It's not my fault she's failed at life. I have no obligation to treat her to anything on my dime, and I don't get how she thinks her vacationing on my dime is more important than us having another child. Am I wrong? Am I the jerk? Should I be obligated to take my mother-in-law on every vacation? Are those trips more important than the life growing in my wife's belly? And in my opinion, no, absolutely not. Going on vacation's nice, taking trips somewhere's nice, and of course, being able to go along on these things for free, of course that would be nice for the mother-in-law. But OP said that for over a decade they've been trying to have their own child, and now they finally get to experience it, and the mother-in-law starts popping in like, well, we can't go on vacations anymore since you're having that child. It's like, where's your priorities at? Where's your joy for us? Just a big show of selfishness from the mother-in-law. It's pretty disheartening to see, really. Should be thrilled and happy and celebrating, not about how disappointed you are that you won't get to go on any more trips for free. But with that being said, that's a wrap on another bunch of stories here today. As always, if you guys have any favorite videos of this bunch, let me know which one in the comments down below and why. And if you enjoyed the stories in general, if you could subscribe to this channel, it'd mean a lot to me. I make these videos daily, and it's by far and away the best way to support my channel. So no matter what you did, whether it was subscribing or liking, leaving a comment, I just appreciate the heck out of you guys. And as always, I'll be back tomorrow with even more stories right here on the Storytime channel.